My arcade game pick of the week this week is called Adventures of Sam and Nate. This is from Jacob C. And he says, here's a new short game prototype I've been working on. He says, I don't think I'm going to explain much about how it works. You should try to figure it out. You will definitely want to try the B button, or you can use the Enter, or I think the E key on the keyboard in the simulator. So we'll pop this open, and the first thing I noticed when I saw this, I realized that this is among kind of one of my favorite game types, sort of simple game mechanic, which is two characters that one player has control over in turns. So what I mean by this is if I use the D-pad to move, I'm moving one character around. And we can see I'm opening up an obstacle here by standing on this B button, but I can't move fast enough to get past that gate. So that means I'm going to need to switch to the other character and sort of leapfrog the controls back and forth. So if I press E, that switches to the other character. So every time you press E on the keyboard or the B button on the console, we switch control. So now I have this second character. I'm going to jump up here and I find another switch. My assumption is that's going to keep that little switch is going to keep the wall down. So now I can switch back to the first character, and sure enough, the wall stays down because someone's standing on the weighted switch. And then finally, we'll get to the exit, which is this yellow dot. I'll switch to this character, and hooray, we've made it past that level. And it's got some scoring here based on the number of presses, so I probably pressed the button more times than needed. Oh, looks like my character here is stuck on level 2, can't go anywhere, so let's switch to the other. Aha! And now we have some control, so I'm going to switch back. And I really like this, especially when you start to have the characters in different enough parts of the level that the camera, when it shifts over, doesn't reveal everything at once. So this is a new mechanic that's introduced in this level, which is you can stand on top of that wall and use it as a lift. So I'm going to switch back to this first character, move off this weighted switch, and my second character pops up. And now we can both escape. So really cool. I love this kind of gameplay. Let's take a look briefly at some of the game blocks. This is built in blocks. And I wanted to look at how the character switching works. So you'll see here there's a block that says on B button pressed, it calls a function called setActivePlayer, and it calls it with an argument of essentially which character isn't being used currently, and that's done with this sort of modulo remainder of active player index plus 1 divided by 2. So that's a way to switch back and forth between player 0 and player 1, I think. And that function that it calls here is this, setActivePlayer, which player ID, so that's the one that's been called. And then we will move Nate with buttons VX and Sam with buttons VX velocity on X and velocity on Y to 0. So it means they both stop essentially when we switch characters. They stop moving. We set the active player index to that player ID that was called. And then we use either the first character, Nate, index 0, is set to the active player sprite, or the second character. And then we resume control. The buttons will now move whichever character is active at an 80% velocity on X, and they don't go up and down with the controls. That's only for jumping. And check this one out. The camera follows sprite, active player sprite. So that's what shifts the camera to essentially be centered on the player. So I thought that was a really exciting prototype of something that could turn into some really great gameplay. And so that is my MakeCode arcade game pick of the week. It is Adventures of Sam and Nate by Jacob C.